So I don't know where this mentality comes from for me. Because I see it a ton, or I would expect it a ton, in those with financial privilege, where they've received a particular treatment with this mentality growing up. They've seen it in their family and friends and their partner, their community. And they've been part of this mentality for so long that it becomes intuitive. Whereas that's not been the case for me. I haven't grown up with a lot of wealth in the family. And so I wonder, because I can think back to at least high school where I've had this mentality. I think what might have happened is I got introduced by it as an experiment, and I tried it out. I tried adopting that mentality, and it brought some kind of value to me, which your body knows that it brought you value. It'll reinforce it, and you try it again, and it brings you more value, and it reinforces it. You try it again and again and again, and you do it so many times that it becomes intuitive. And that's what's happened to me. Now, at least for the past 2-3 years, this concept of money being a tool is very intuitive, to the point where that is the default way I behave when there's anything related to money. I think here's the thing. Most people have a relationship with money, right? For some, it's a mirror where if you have a lot of money, you feel better about yourself, right? If you don't, you're insecure. I think for others, it's like a romantic partner, right? They're in love with money. It's like playing poker, right? You're excited by it. There's passion. If it's taken away, you crave it, right? Maybe it's like a toxic ex. You know you shouldn't. You know that money hurts you, but you keep going back to it, and you don't know why. You can't figure out why, right? I think society has taught us, and we've grown up with money, with us treating money as if we were in a relationship with it. And I can't blame society either, right? It's so fundamental to the way we live. It impacts maybe like your friends that you've been with, right? Let's say a lot of your closest friends are from high school, for instance. Well, how did you determine where you went to high school? Well, probably the neighborhood that you were in. What determined that? The size of the house that you lived in. Where does that come from? Well, how much money your parents have. A lot of divorces happen because of financial issues, right? A lot of people can't afford food because they don't have money, and that's their life struggle. Other people, let's say they have a startup, and they have 50K in the bank. They have 3 months of runway, and 3 months from now, their company's not going to exist unless they raise a round, right? Money is fundamental to how we live. I couldn't imagine living without my phone, for example, right? A week without my phone, I'd go crazy. Same thing with money, right? It's so fundamental to the way we live. And that's okay. I think it can be important in society, but we can shift our relationship with money. I think by default, people have a relationship. The mentality that I've discovered and now adopted to the point of intuition is that money is a tool. It's like a flight where you're not like in love with a flight, right? It's a plane. You probably don't even like the experience, but maybe like you don't hate it with passion. It doesn't bring you value, right? It's just a flight. A flight is a tool to help you get from point A to point B. That's all it is, right? It's like if you're a college student, or if you guys know what Canva is, or any kind of course management platform. It's just a tool, right? You're not in love with Canva. You don't think about it. You don't dream about it. You don't go around talking to everyone about Canva, or you hate it. It doesn't give you relationship advice or problems, right? It doesn't feed you. It's just a tool for you to get access to your courses and its assignments and quizzes, etc. That's how I treat money. Just a tool. I'll give you a fantastic example. I'm sitting in SF right now. And if I didn't have this mentality, I would not be here. Here's what happened. It's the summer right now, and I was looking for internships. Couldn't get it. And I thought to myself, where do I need to be at 22? Well, I need to be in SF. For me, that's the place to be. I have no other choice. If I went there, would it be a financial mistake? Yeah. It's the worst financial mistake I've ever made. But it's the best life decision I've ever made. I calculated this beforehand. If I went to SF, and I'm nearing the end of this trip, this is exactly how it turned out, I would have just enough money to cover like fall and winter semester. Like one more year of college, which is what I have. But just maybe living expenses. I wouldn't have enough money for tuition, right? Either one or the other, I would have had to take student loans. And right now I'm looking into student loans. So going on this trip to live in one of top 5 most expensive cities in the world as a college student in Canada without much money, terrible financial decision. I still made it. Because I used money as a tool to do the thing that'll help me the most in life. And let me tell you, it's changed my life fundamentally. It's changed the trajectory of my life. And I have the intuition for that now, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I'll look back and think that this was the best life decision that I've ever made. The amount of opportunity, vision, relationships, direction, purpose that being in this context has opened up for me is invaluable. All because I use money as a tool. Give you another great example where me using money as a tool is intuitive and how that might operate. 4 days ago, I was at an event and I met a stranger. I spoke to her for 45 minutes and she was building a course and we thought it'd be a great idea to film it together. Premium course, well formatted, bringing a lot of value, a high cost too. 2 days ago, we went on a walk. We discussed the logistics. And you know what I'm doing right now? I'm buying a flight to SF, because I'll be back in Canada. I'm buying a flight to SF in a month to do a 3-day video shoot with her. Complete stranger. Terrible financial decision. I just told you I don't have money. Why would I book a flight to SF, stay here for 3 days with a stranger, or to hang out with a stranger? Because I recognize intuitively, instinctually, that this seems like a great opportunity. I don't really have the logic behind it, but it seems like a great opportunity. Do I have the money for it? No, not really. It's a terrible decision. But because the intuition's there, and I have confidence in my intuition, I'm using money as a tool to take up this opportunity. We'll see how it turns out. I suspect that it'll be great. I think I've been able to use money as a tool so much because it's enabled me, like using money as a tool has enabled me to chase purpose. Look, here's the thing, right? For most people, what's kind of like the conventional wisdom when it comes to money? At least in the context that I've grown up. It's to invest, right? You get your first paycheck, invest it. Right? Max out your TFSA, max out your 401k, invest your money, right? Here's a big thing in like Indian communities or Chinese communities. First generation immigrants. What do you do when you have money? Buy a house, right? Of course you would buy a house. There's no way around. Of course. You're 27, you have money, buy a house, right? We have all these celebrations around buying a house. And you have more money, what happens? You buy a second house. And then a third house, and a fourth house, and you keep investing. You keep building out your stock market portfolio. Your 401k is maxed. You have 3 houses. And what's the whole point? Think about it. Why should you be investing all this much? It's so when you're 65 and you have 3 houses, you have $1 million, $2 million saved up, you can enjoy life, right? You can go on your vacations, you can take your little boat out, you You can drive up north somewhere with your partner. That frightens me. That is nightmare to me. You're gonna waste your entire life so that when you're 65, you can enjoy it? That's absurd. And that's a convention for society. That's absurd to me. And in fact, let's take a look. What do they do when you're 65 and you're using money for them? You're still using it as a tool, right? 65, you all this money saved up. You're using it as a tool to go to the places you always wanted to visit, to explore, to see your friends and build out those relationships, right? You're still using it as a tool. My point is, if you're going to use it as a tool, why not use it at 22 rather than 65? This is the whole time value money principle, right? You have $1,000. Investing it in the market now is more valuable than investing $1,000 or having $1,000 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Because if you throw it in the market, well, 10 years from now it'll be $2,000. I agree with that. I'm saying the exact same thing, but here's the twist. Instead of investing money into the stock market, do you know what I'm doing? I'm putting that money into me, into my experiences, into the opportunities that I get. And so 10 years from now, I'm going to be in a place that I could have never imagined because I invested in myself during my peak, during my prime. That's all it is. But that really comes back to the question of purpose, right? Okay, let's say money's a tool, but what do you actually use that tool for? What really brings you fulfillment in life, right? Purpose is this thing where the concept of motivation just disappears, right? There's no motivate. When you have purpose, you have intuitive, intrinsic excitement. You just do the thing because it's so exciting. You give up everything else because that purpose is so exciting. Nothing else matters to you anymore, right? Everyone else thinks you're crazy. To you, that makes perfect sense. You found your purpose. But how can you know your purpose if you don't know yourself? I think this is the biggest issue I faced. I think society faces. We all face this right now. There's no purpose if there's no you, right? What do we do all day? We got our AirPods in. We're listening to music. Then we're listening to YouTube. Then we're watching Netflix. Then we're vaping and smoking weed. And then we take a long shower and we go to a festival and then we sleep and we repeat. How much time do you spend with yourself? None, right? How do you build a bond with someone? How do you build a bond with like the people, like do you know the people that you're like transiting on subway with every day? No, you don't. They're just a stranger because you haven't spent time with them, right? They're just strangers. You don't know them because you haven't spent time with them. I think the same thing applies, but with yourself. If you haven't spent time with yourself, you don't really know who you are. Do you really know what you want in life? No, because you don't know you. If you can't like consume lunch without watching Netflix, or like go outside for a walk without your AirPods and listening to music, right? You're really not spending time with yourself. I'm guilty of this too. You're not spending time with yourself. When you start spending time with yourself, you understand who you are. All these thoughts start like do this. Go to the park, sit down. No AirPods, no phone, nothing. Just sit down. And let thoughts rise for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. There's gonna be good thoughts and bad thoughts. There's gonna be interesting ones, boring ones. That's who you are, right? You start listening to these thoughts. You start listening to this person, and you and yourself are able to connect. That's how you build that relationship. You're able to connect with them. When you connect with them, you start telling yourself what it really wants. It'll say, hey, that person that we met the other day, that was such an interesting convo. I want to get to know them more. Or this thing that I'm doing every day for 6 hours, like I'm not enjoying that. In fact, that makes me angry, or I'm disappointed, or I feel lost, right? When you listen to yourself, you get to figure out what it's actually telling you, and eventually you start accepting some of those things, you start taking the action that it tells you, it leads you down a path of purpose. When you listen to yourself, will tell you exactly what it wants. And that'll lead you to purpose. And I think that's the beauty about life and money. You want to chase purpose, not money.